Welcome back to Investing Talk podcast. Today we're focusing on a massive, truly foundational player in the tech sector, International Business Machines Corporation.
That's right. For years, the market kind of treated international business machines as this legacy giant, sort of stable, but maybe not exciting. But their big pivot toward hybrid cloud and AI, that's put them squarely back in the conversation.
Absolutely. So the core question we're exploring today, based on the materials you sent over, it's pretty straightforward, but honestly critical. Is International Business Machines a good time to buy right now?
It really is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
We've synthesized quite a complex stack here. We've got fundamental health reports, some really detailed technical analyses, and market sentiment, too. And that sentiment reflects both, high enthusiasm and some underlying volatility. Definitely a mixed bag.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to need to look at the money, the actual market movement, and some pretty major catalysts that are literally weeks away.
Okay, let's get into it. But before we jump into the numbers, just a quick reminder. If you find value in this conversation, please hit subscribe, like the video, and comment below. We love hearing from you. And also, if there's a specific company you want us to look into next, just leave a comment. We do read those.
Okay, so where do we start? To set the stage, I think we first need to look at the financial foundation. Because look, this is a company undergoing a really radical and frankly expensive transformation.
Right. And when we talk transformation, you need stabilization first, don't you? So what did those 2024 financials tell us about that underlying stability? Are they on solid ground?
Well, the revenue picture shows stabilization. Not necessarily breakout growth yet, but stable. Total 2024 revenue hit $62.75 billion. Now, that's only a 1.44% increase over the previous year.
Only 1.44%. Okay.
Yeah, for a giant like this, one that's been shedding non-core assets to really focus strategically, that 1.44% isn't about, rapid expansion. It's more about proving that their core enterprise customer base is sticking around and that demand for their key segments is holding up during this shift.
Okay, that slight revenue increase, it sounds sustainable, maybe reassuring even.
Yeah.
But here's where the nuance comes in, I think.
Yeah.
Your analysis highlights that while revenue was steady, earnings actually decreased by nearly 20%, specifically 19.71% in 2024. If they're so resilient, how do we reconcile that pretty steep drop in earnings? What's going on there?
That really comes down to the cost of that transformation we mentioned. It's not cheap. The decrease in earnings reflects both strategic investment costs, pouring money into AI and cloud, and operational restructuring costs too, tidying up the ship. However, the source material does note that management was pretty effective in offsetting some of this impact. They kept profit margins robust through, stringent cost management and really focusing on operational efficiency.
Okay, but maintaining efficiency often means deep cuts, right? Sometimes in crucial areas like R&D or key talent. Is there any indication in the sources that this efficiency is maybe coming at the expense of future innovation? Or is it genuinely just controlled cost management?
The reports seem to lean towards controlled management, mainly because analysts are actually anticipating accelerating growth now. That confidence seems driven by the strategic investments they've already made in hybrid cloud and, critically, their AI technologies.
So the market sees the dip as temporary.
Essentially, yes. The market seems to view the 2024 earnings dip as a kind of necessary short-term sacrifice to fund that big long-term strategic shift.
And the balance sheet, can it actually support this kind of aggressive pivot? Do they have the financial muscle?
Oh, absolutely. A pivot of this scale, it requires financial armor, you could say, and they definitely have it. The balance sheet looks healthy, characterized by pretty low debt levels, relatively speaking.
And that gives them flexibility.
Exactly. That financial flexibility is crucial because it allows them to fund these massive investments in things like quantum computing and AI. And importantly, it also lets them maintain shareholder returns, think dividends, potential buybacks, things investors like to see.
Makes sense. What's the market cap these days?
It's hovering around $270 billion, and they generate strong free cash flow. That's really the fuel for long-term confidence, both for innovation and for investors.
Okay, so the balance sheet provides the armor, as you put it. Where's the spear? What's their actual competitive advantage against, the hyperscalers like AWS or Azure? They're huge.
Yeah, they are. International Business Machines' advantage is really specialization and their entrenched relationship with global enterprises. They've been working with these companies for decades. They're not really trying to compete head-on in pure infrastructure cloud anymore. That ship has sailed. Instead, they're pushing hard into two specialized, potentially high-margin areas where they feel they have leadership quantum computing and enterprise AI solutions.
Quantum feels like long bet, though.
It is, but the push into quantum specifically is often cited as a potential major market position enhancer down the line. It offers a unique differentiator. It ensures sustainable long-term growth drivers based on highly specialized innovation and, of course, their very strong brand.
Okay, so the fundamentals suggest stabilization, maybe strategic pivoting is underway, but stability doesn't always guarantee investor interest, does it? Did investors actually buy into this story?
Yeah.
That's where the technical picture comes in, right? What are the charts telling us?
Yeah, and that's where the charts tell a much clearer and frankly more bullish story right now. The technical picture is, well, decidedly bullish at the moment. We're seeing that classic pattern of higher lows and higher highs.
The definition of an uptrend.
Exactly, the definition of a strong, confirmed uptrend. This signals that investor confidence has really solidified, at least over the medium term.
And tell us about the trading range. Where has it been moving?
So the 52-week trading range gives you context for this upward movement. It's been trading between roughly 203 twins and $296. So $203.51 to $296.16 to be precise. Key support levels have held firm, which is encouraging, and recent price action has actually been testing resistance levels.
Suggesting there might be more room to run.
That's what the market seems to be thinking, yes. Testing resistance suggests potential for further upside movement.
Are the classic indicators, like moving averages, confirming this acceleration?
They are. The stock is consistently trading above both its 50-day and its 200-day moving averages. And that's your technical confirmation that the upward trend is, pretty well established. If a stock stays above those long-term markers, typically the bulls are in control.
Right. And what about the actual speed of buying, that momentum? What are the indicators like RSI telling us?
Good question. Momentum indicators like the Relative Strength Index, the RSI, and also the MTD, Moving Average Divergence, they show healthy bullish accumulation. Crucially, they haven't really entered what technicians call overbought territory yet.
Which is important.
Very. It means the rally appears sustained and healthy, not just some immediate short-term spike driven by hype or a news event.
Now, the sources pointed out two specific dates in September that acted as technical buy signals. Can you walk us through those? What happened there?
Yes, these were pretty textbook signals, actually. So on September 16th, 2025, the stock moved decisively above its 50-day moving average. That was the first sign. Then, just 2 days later, on September 18th, 2025, we saw a bullish crossover. The 10-day moving average crossed above the 50-day.
That's significant because
That crossover is generally seen as a strong signal. It suggests that short-term momentum has definitively taken control and is accelerating the stock's movement beyond even the medium-term average. It's what many technicians would identify as a high-conviction buy signal.
Okay, strong signals. But, the market never moves in a straight line. An upward trend can still be pretty brutal sometimes. What were the recent speed bumps? Anything that concerned tactical traders recently?
Well, yeah, there was a cautionary note related to that RSI reading earlier in September. Previous readings had briefly spiked into that overbought territory we mentioned.
Oh, okay.
So that flagged the potential for maybe a minor tactical pullback. While the longer-term trend remained positive, it suggested that the sheer speed of the rally might have been unsustainable in the very short term. A breather might be needed.
Right. Let's talk about that volatility more because there have been some massive swings recently. You mentioned the Q2 earnings miss earlier.
Yeah.
That must have felt like a real punch to the gut for investors holding the stock.
Yeah.
What was the one thing that caused that huge 10% intraday plunge?
It really boiled down to one key number in that Q2 earnings report on July 23rd, 2025. The miss triggered the largest intraday drop in 4 years. And the market reaction was so violent because their high-margin software sales missed consensus expectations.
How much did they miss by?
They reported $7.39 billion, but the expectation was closer to $7.49 billion. Missing that core software number, especially in what's seen as a high-growth segment, it just spooked the market immediately.
Ouch. Yeah, a 10% drop suggests some pretty significant concerns, maybe about their ability to actually monetize all those cloud and AI investments.
So what was the silver lining? How did the stock manage to eventually rebound so strongly after that kind of hit?
The silver lining was sort of buried deeper in the report, the counter-narrative, if you will. Despite the headline revenue miss, total AI bookings crossed $7.5 billion. That's a huge number.
Bookings, not revenue, though.
Correct. And here's the critical nuance. 80% of those bookings came from consulting services. So what this demonstrates is massive underlying demand from enterprises for their AI expertise and implementation help, even if the revenue conversion to stable, recurring software sales hasn't fully materialized yet.
Got it. So the market is essentially betting on that future conversion from consulting to software.
Precisely. That underlying demand seems to have fueled a massive rebound. By August, the stock was up almost 30% year to date.
Wow. And what specific infrastructure progress helped underpin that recovery? Was it just sentiment or was there substance? There was substance. Two main areas really stood out. First, progress in their AI infrastructure, specifically the rollout of the new Power 11 chips. These are central to their high-performance computing offerings for AI. Second, the sustained operational benefits that are finally flowing through from their big acquisitions. Red Hat and, more recently, HashiCorp. The integrations are starting to pay off.
Okay, we hear those names, Red Hat, HashiCorp, often. But for listeners who might not track the infrastructure space day to day, why is integrating a tool like HashiCorp so critical? Why does that help them win these big cloud transformation deals?
It's really all about orchestration and management complexity. Red Hat gave them the platform for hybrid cloud, letting clients run applications and data seamlessly across their own data centers and public clouds like AWS or Azure.
Okay, the hybrid piece.
Right. HashiCorp adds crucial infrastructure orchestration tools on top of that. Things like Terraform for infrastructure provisioning and Vault for managing secrets and security. These are exactly the kinds of tools global enterprises desperately need to manage the incredible complexity, the security, the deployment challenges across all these different environments.
So it makes the whole hybrid cloud offering more manageable for the client.
Exactly. And this allows international business machines to successfully shift from just selling hardware or basic software to winning those really lucrative, sticky, complex, hybrid cloud integration projects. That's where the money is.
That makes the future demand pipeline seem much clearer. Okay, if we look forward now, what specific daily catalysts are on the horizon? What's going to trigger the next big movements in the stock?
We actually have several key potential triggers coming up just in the next quarter. The big one, the fundamental event everyone's watching, is the upcoming earnings report. That's set for October 22nd, 2025.
Okay, October 22nd. And the expectation is positive.
Yes, this is widely cited as the major short-term trigger. Investors will be laser-focused, looking for proof that those $7.5 billion in consulting bookings are actually starting to accelerate year-over-year revenue growth, especially in software.
And right before that crucial report, you mentioned external flow dynamics, something about ETFs.
Exactly. The day before earnings, on October 21st, 2025, there's a major ETF rebalancing scheduled for the S&P 500 and various technology-focused ETFs. This can cause significant price movement that's not really based on company fundamentals, just passive funds adjusting their holdings. Active traders will definitely be watching that closely for opportunities or risks.
Interesting timing. Okay, looking a bit further out, what about the broader sector context and signs of institutional sentiment?
Well, on November 11th, 2025, we get the quarterly technology sector holiday impact report. That provides crucial context on overall IT spending trends heading into the end of the year. It helps contextualize international business machines' pipeline.
Gives you the big picture.
Right. And then we look for signs of institutional conviction around December 2nd, 2025. That's roughly when the next wave of institutional buying disclosures, the 13F filings, are expected. Those filings signal exactly where major funds, the big money, are placing their long-term bets within the sector. Seeing big funds buy or add to positions can be a strong positive signal.
Okay, so confirmed dates to watch. Now, beyond those, the transformation of a company this huge always generates rumors, speculation. What's the key buzz or speculation that we should maybe be aware of?
Yeah, the rumor mill suggests some potentially major activity happening behind the scenes, mostly focused on unlocking value. There are unconfirmed reports, for example, hinting at strategic AI partnership talks with a leading global cloud provider. Think collaboration, maybe, rather than just competition.
Interesting.
What else? There's also persistent industry chatter about a potential spin-off of their quantum computing division. The idea would be to unlock that highly specialized, maybe currently undervalued piece from the core legacy business.
A pure-play quantum company.
Potentially. And finally, rumors persist about landing a large multi-year AI services contract win with a public sector agency in a major G7 country. That would be a huge foundational piece of recurring business, if true.
Okay, lots of potential catalysts and rumors swirling around. So let's try to bring this all together. We have solid, stabilizing fundamentals, accelerating growth projections driven by these big strategic shifts into AI and hybrid cloud, confirmed positive technical momentum recently, and this flurry of short-term catalysts coming up. Before we get to the final verdict, let's quickly touch on the risks again. If management is so experienced, what are the structural risks a listener should really be aware of beyond just general market ups and downs?
Well, the company's specific risks are often cited in reports as somewhat limited and generally well managed. We do have to acknowledge a couple of structural challenges. First, maintaining competitive pricing against the sheer scale and efficiency of the hyperscalers, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud. That's a perpetual challenge in the hybrid cloud space. They have huge economies of scale.
Constant pressure there.
Constant pressure. Second, there's execution risk, particularly in quantum computing. This is highly technical, really bleeding-edge science. Even with their current lead, a significant delay or failure to deliver commercially viable quantum solutions on their projected timeline could definitely erode long-term confidence in that part of the valuation.
Makes sense. And you'd find more detail where?
We always urge listeners, consult the detailed risk factors section in the company's latest 10K filing for the full picture. But those 2 points, pricing pressure and quantum execution, are probably key to the investment thesis.
Okay. Given this complex picture, the potential, the risks, the transition, what's the overall sentiment from the analyst community? Where do they stand?
Generally, analysts have maintained a buy rating overall. The consensus price target is currently around $285.23. This reflects a pretty positive future outlook that is heavily anchored in the assumed success of that hybrid cloud and AI strategy we've been discussing.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, considering buying international business machines now? What's the final thesis here, and what's the best investment horizon to think about?
Okay, based on synthesizing all these diverse sources, the fundamentals, the technicals, the catalysts, the risks, the final verdict leans towards an overall bullish rating. Let's call it an 8 out of 10.
An 8 out of 10, that's pretty strong.
It is. The rationale rests on those strong underlying fundamentals providing a floor, the accelerating growth potential driven by that hybrid cloud and AI conversion, those resilient margins despite investment, and the sustained positive technical momentum we've seen. And in terms of horizon, the stock actually looks potentially attractive for both short-term trading, maybe trying to leverage those distinct catalysts coming up in the next quarter.
Like the earnings report or the ETF rebalancing.
Exactly. And also for longer-term investors who are looking to capture that structural growth story as the company hopefully shifts successfully into these higher-margin, future-focused domains like AI and quantum.
An 8-10 bullish rating. That's, as you said, strong conviction, particularly for a company that's still navigating such a complex multi-year transition.
It is, and really that conversion speed remains the ultimate metric to watch. It's the key variable. While those strong AI consulting bookings, that $7.5 billion figure we keep mentioning, suggest massive future demand, and were clearly the key factor in the stock's rebound after the Q2 miss.
Right.
That same Q2 miss starkly highlighted the challenge in converting that consulting demand directly into predictable high-margin software sales revenue. There's a lag or maybe a difficulty there. So the real question for you as an investor is this. Given that the crucial October 22nd earnings report is only weeks away, how quickly will that underlying demand for AI services actually accelerate stable software revenue growth? And maybe just as important, how much of that anticipated growth is already baked into the stock's current price and momentum?
That's the crux of it.
It really is. It's the speed and predictability of that conversion from bookings to recurring revenue that will likely determine the true magnitude of the upside potential from here.
That is the essential insight to hold on to as we watch this unfold. Thank you for joining us for this analysis of International Business Machines Corporation. We really hope this knowledge helps inform your next investment decision.